A little.
Okay, we are officially live. It's that easy. Click, click.
That was easy.
Click, click, and the whole world can see us. So thank you guys for joining us today. We're sitting here with the great Nate Shaffer out of our St. George office. Are you originally from St. George?
I'm not. No, we moved here 4 years ago.
Really? Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Sacramento and Mesa, Arizona.
Oh, really?
Kind of half and half. Yep.
I didn't know you were an Arizona boy.
Mesa, Mountain View High School. Go
Oh,
Toros.
really?
Yep.
So was it Arizona then to here? Or was it Arizona to California to here?
Bounced around a lot. So California till I was 13, then went to Mesa till right before senior year. Didn't get to graduate from my high school there, then moved back to
Got
California.
kicked out of school?
That's right.
You're out of
I don't
here.
know why we moved around so much, but ended up in California for senior year, went on a couple of year mission to Costa Rica, then Idaho for school, Utah for school, moved to Nevada, Las Vegas. We were there for about 10 years because that's where my wife's from.
Okay.
Henderson. And then 4 years ago came here.
Okay. So most people, I think this isn't true for you, but most people don't live that much are running away from something.
Yeah, I've done things and I'm just trying to stay out ahead of them.
Yeah.
So if any of you know,
So you've got
I'm here in Utah now, in St. George.
That's awesome. So only 4 years in St. George.
4 years this month. Yeah.
Did you get your license right when you got here?
So I actually, back in 05, I got into real estate with a land broker in California, and he just had me doing administrative type stuff, researching landowners and getting a hold of people. So I kind of got exposed back then. Got out of college in 07 or 06 and wanted to go get into real estate. We moved to Henderson.
Okay.
And Las Vegas at that time was not a good time to get into real estate. So I got licensed in 07 or 08 for the first time, and it just couldn't make it happen. I think I helped 2 people get into rentals that year. I think I made like a couple of $300 commissions because they're in Las Vegas.
Nice.
You can actually access rental markets on their MLS.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't working. But I was young, out of college, didn't have a lot of business experience, didn't have sales experience, clearly wasn't doing very well. So I let my license go after a year and got into construction management, constructing some of the casinos like Cosmopolitan, Aliante Station. So I got some knowledge in construction. Also, then went on to do sales for Waxy for about 7 years.
And learned Waxy.
Waxy is a sanitary supply business. So I used to handle business-to-business sales in Vegas, kind of built a portfolio up there. 7 years later after that, so now I'd been there 10 years in Vegas, we decided we wanted to move. And we looked at St. George. My parents have retired here. So we said, let's make it happen. So kind of in a roundabout way, 1 year before we moved here, I went and got licensed again in Henderson, started doing some deals in Vegas. And then I guess about 3.5 years ago, I got licensed here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of the things I love about that story, which I didn't know any of this, right? Which means I can spend more time with you.
No, hey, we're doing it.
But what I love about that as a story, which I think can be inspiring for a lot of people, is 80% of agents that get their license fail in the first year. I mean, that's a very small percentage of people.
And I did, yeah.
And you got licensed, got out of the business, got licensed again, just because you were feeling the pain. It might have been a time of life or whatever it was. But just the fact that your business is to the size it is now, like in July, you had 14, 15 closings in July. Mm-hmm. So in 1 month, you closed more than a lot of agents will figure out how to do their whole year, right? And it wasn't like the Cinderella story. I think a lot of times agents see someone like you with your success and just like, man, it must have been easy for him. So I like this story of like, hey, I got licensed, got out, got back in, moved states, started somewhere new, and here we go.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing I like about that, and I shared this too, where I built my business in Arizona, is a lot of people think you have to already know a ton of people to get your license and succeed. Because, I've lived here for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Where like when I went to Arizona, when you came here, you probably didn't know that very many people when you moved here.
We knew my parents. Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm imagining that your parents didn't buy all 15 properties last month.
No, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, right.
No.
So the point I'm making is you've built this business in a location you didn't live. You've been through, I don't want to say you failed previously as a real estate agent, but you went through that cycle. Okay, you said it. I couldn't say it, but you can say
That was
it.
failure.
But then you came back and have built this up, which is awesome. Like what was different for you approaching it this second time in a new market than your first go around in the real estate world?
I guess what I would attribute a lot of it to is I think I needed a little time to learn business and grow up a little bit, but also I think I went into it with a very positive mindset. Like I knew that I could do it, and I felt like I had this really clear motivation as well, where it's kind of like, okay, I'm moving to St. George. I have no business being there otherwise. We're going to completely shut off my other income, which was a passive income I had built up in commissions that were residual with Waxy. Those businesses, once they start buying supplies from you, they do it every month.
Yeah.
And so I was saying goodbye to a good income, nothing like it is now though. And I was going to start over. And so I was pretty hungry this had to work, right?
Yeah.
We bought a home here and I started transitioning where I kept the job down there. And I was half and half, mostly there, starting to build something here, starting to work on a website that could feed me some leads, because how else would I meet people unless I could start to get leads from people coming here from outside where they don't know anyone locally either. So they'll look at anything online. So if you're there and you can connect with that person, those are your first clients, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of had to start there. And but really, I think what helped it work was just confidence in my ability to really want to focus on helping the person. So if I could learn the product, the area, I know how to work with people, then I could then start to put the two together and help them find what they're looking for.
Love that. And so it sounds like obviously you created the leads, you became familiar with the product. And the other thing that I can resonate with there was some element of almost like, I have no choice but to succeed. It's like you burnt the bridges a little bit of saying like, hey, I cut off my other income stream. It's like, if my kids want to eat, this has to work.
Well, it wasn't going to be able to be a long-term plan. My bosses there knew that I had moved the day before we moved. They said, "Are you moving?" I said, "Well, I have to go get the moving truck right now, actually." So yes. And they said, "Okay, we'll let you do this, but probably not forever." And so I kept the job and was back and forth from about July of 2016 when we moved here till March 30th, 2018. So I cut them off, or they cut me off. I don't know which, but 30th of March 2018. So went full time here a little over 2 years ago.
Wow.
And stopped doing anything there, and I stopped kind of doing even real estate deals in Vegas probably a year ago.
Do you remember how many deals did you do your first year in St. George?
Oh, maybe only like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Because I probably did like 12 or so, or in Vegas, something like that, and then was still doing the other job as well.
Yeah, and then you're on track to do, how many do you think you'll end it in 2020?
Maybe like 65 or 70 myself, and then the team like another 50.
Okay, so 100, 120.
15, yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Go ahead and smile. You're like fighting the smile.
It is cool.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So one of the things that I know you and I pre-chatted a little bit was keeping a positive mindset, right? Because building a big business like that, starting from scratch, but also like right now, there's challenges to our business that we've never faced before. So how do you have any tricks or advice on how do you keep a positive mindset in approaching those challenges?
Well, I guess the way I look at it is like this. In any sort of scenario, there's things that are going to have to happen. Just because these challenges occur doesn't mean that everyone's going to stay in their home and never move again. And so you have to kind of just approach the market and kind of understand, like, what's the angle this time? Like, where would I need to be to position myself so that I'm part of those deals? It won't be the same as maybe it is today, but they're still going to be happening. So does that mean, am I focusing instead of building relationships with developers and builders? I'm out, dropping in on banks and things and developing relationships there, because it's a market where a lot of properties ceased and has to be turned and offloaded.
Yeah.
Or you just have to kind of reinvent the wheel each time, I think, and be willing to do that. I suppose that's something that I had learned from previous jobs, was that where I was a consultant to a lot of different businesses, even though it was just toilet paper and hand sanitizer and things like that are very popular items right now, I might add. I had to kind of get very familiar with lots of different business models. So it educated me on just kind of how business in general works all around us, and how everything kind of interlinks with one another. And as long as you build kind of an understanding of that, I think you can very easily pivot into where you need to be so that you're part of deals.
Yeah, I think that's really brilliant. I mean, you use the word consult and pivot, and I think you really can't be a one-trick pony, right? No. And on the other side of that, I mean, it's a two-edged sword. You don't want to be so spread out in your efforts that you're accomplishing nothing, but you also can't rely on a one-trick pony, particularly because the solutions right now are not one size fits all for our clients. It's a true consultant, and to be a true consultant, you have to understand the different products, right?
I think you do. Yeah.
And the product just isn't like one house compared to another, but it's the different opportunities that are available of how do we get you into the right house? How do we help you sell the house? How do we get you to where you're wanting to go? And be able to consult through that with them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes with just time and experience. So I think in the beginning, maybe I had some business knowledge, sales knowledge, construction knowledge, but I really didn't have any St. George real estate knowledge. And so I knew that my intentions were to help that person accomplish what they wanted to do. And I always make sure that my focus is dialed in on what's their best interest. Never mind. Even if it means saying completely goodbye to a commission, I could care less. I have to feel that way. Otherwise it'll translate to them. They'll see it. But if I, when I first got started, in a way I had to kind of fake it till I made it, because I remember that some of the first outings, I'd get these leads, started getting some leads through my website, and I was talking to them, they'd ask questions. I'm like, yeah, let me get back to you on that, and I'd get them the answers. And so they were content with, all right, yeah, let's meet up and go see some things. Some of those first experiences driving around, and it's just me and my little business here under Keller Williams, and I'm just learning, I hadn't been to these parts of St. George. They're like, we're taking the routes to these houses and getting lost all the time. And they're like, yeah, what are the schools here? And asking all these different questions. I'm like, I'll get back to you on that. There's a lot of, I'll get back to you on that. And in some instances, I'm doing my best to give them what I think is correct advice. But then I'd have to come back later and be like, hey, something I told you I learned, maybe it's actually a little different. Here it is. But every time you look into any of these things, you're learning. So over time, you do become the expert.
That knowledge,
it took a while.
And it's an ongoing process, right? It's not like you could check that off to be like, I'm now an expert, because the market today is significantly different than it was 4 years ago, right? Your ability to stay on top of being an expert is easier once you've got there, but it's just ongoing process of I got to continue to learn, stay ahead of it. I know you were in the quarterly market update today where we were talking about specific things around the market. So it's something it's a muscle you got to continue to exercise, right?
That's right.
What about outside of the day-to-day of doing the actual transactions of being a student of the market? Are there anything specifically you do to as part of your daily routine to help maintain positive mindset?
I don't know. I think what helps me kind of receive energy for moving forward like that and staying positive is I truly find a lot of joy in watching things come together for people. And so I'm kind of motivated to help them find what's best for them. There's nothing I hate more than putting a deal together where I feel like somebody has agreed to buy a home or sell a home at a price that I'm just like, man, I feel like we can do better. And they'll be like, Nate, I want this home. And I'll be like, are you sure? I feel like we can go find you something that's like this transaction. I feel like the seller won, they're paying a lot for this, or whatever the scenario might be. And so when they're happy and it works out, and I feel like I've been able to put together two great things, it really helps me stay positive, and I just keep going off of that energy I think I get from those things. I suppose that's one answer.
No, I think I'm similar. It's like the end result is enough motivation to get there, right?
Mhm.
Where I think sometimes the pain of the path to get there sometimes deters people from actually getting to that pleasure, right?
Right.
I think everyone approaches it a little bit differently. So I think that's interesting.
And I think that applies to, kind of now where it's building a team, right? I want nothing more than to see like the team members succeed, and for them to encounter like success and to build each year. And I think that kind of drives me too, is to try and see how much can I kind of bring to the team that I can then provide to these agents so that they can be just really excited about what they're doing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love that journey too. That's one of the things that drew me to leadership originally was me on my own could only create that magical experience for a handful of people. But going into leadership where you have other people that are trained how to deliver the value the way you've done in the past, it's all of a sudden you have 5 people on your team, you've more than 5 times the amount of people you can create that impact for. But it's an interesting journey of like that same thing of like you becoming an expert as a real estate agent and producing that result is going on that journey of now how do I become an expert in leadership? And now I can have a bigger impact. I got a bigger footprint through people now, which is fun. One of the other things to not carry this on too much longer, but one of the things I noticed on kind of some of the notes we had going back and forth is that you mentioned the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which I have a true passion for that book. It's the first business book I ever read. My grandpa, Papa Lou, gave me that book when I was like 13 or 14. And he always carried a box of them around. But tell me about your experience with that book.
I don't know. I guess we have some friends that I think they're great with kind of knowing how to just manage life, balance, and money, and kind of building wealth at a pace that I think is a comfortable pace. And I kind of look up to them a lot, and they kind of follow that same pattern, which is kind of put your money to work for you. And I think that it makes it fun to put in place like a business plan and execute it and watch it succeed, and then have a purpose for what you're able to draw from that. Aside from trying to bless the lives of those that you serve or that work on the team, but then once you are able to benefit from that business model that you've created, to be able to put, that money into areas that kind of can then work for you. And it's just fun to watch happen. And I think it's like the true model for building wealth, right?
Yeah.
And even though that's not all there is to life, I think it's a comfortable thing to be able to do, so that you can then free up some of your own time to then focus on others in other areas where you need to free it up. So
I think that's well said. I mean, I still recommend that book to a lot of people. In fact, when I teach my wealth building class, I pull up a slide from The Richest Man in Babylon, and then I relate it to creating money rules, right? Because really that's what The Richest Man in Babylon is. It has these set of rules of like, these are things you should follow with your money. And I kind of walk through that idea of like, hey, you need to create rules around your money, because agents, particularly first year in the business, particularly if they're coming from a W-2 income before, they're used to someone else putting aside taxes and all those things. So they spend more money than they made. And they're like, oh, wow, the IRS needs to get paid. How does this work? So it's this idea of just managing that money. And it kind of goes into that same concept that we just talked about before of you growing a team and being leadership and saying, I like to see results show up through people. On the other side of that is you can say, I like to see additional results show up through my money, right? Whether that's in charitable giving or other passive income streams. But like, there's a lot of power into saying, okay, I'm going to take this dollar. I sweat for this dollar. I'm going to put it in a safe place that actually it's going to go to work for me. I don't have to sweat again on that dollar, but it's going to bring $2 or $3 back with it. I mean, it's really cool to start seeing that take effect. It takes patience.
Yeah, I think it does.
But it's good.
It's not something that you experience the first year that you start in real estate.
No,
not at all.
Not at all. So to wrap up, if you were to give one piece of advice to anyone out there starting a business or getting into real estate, of something they should be focused on right now, what would that be?
Well, I think really the secret is if you can truly be a consultant and truly focus on who it is that you're trying to help, right? And learn as much as you can about big picture, of truly what is the right answer in every single type of circumstance, and be willing to say that you don't know sometimes. Don't fabricate the answer just so you have an answer. But if you don't, go find it, the answer, and learn it as much as you can, so that you can truly consult, and then you can deliver that advice, from you, and they feel that. So it's not just selling them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when you just got yourself a client for life, and they're not only are they going to call you whenever they need anything related to real estate, but they're gonna tell all their friends to call you too, because they know that you were focused on their well-being. And while you're doing it, also know that, I don't know, I feel like if you ever start to get like this scarcity mentality that I see all too often in this industry, and probably every industry, I think it's kind of just the way that many of us are wired, right? Kind of survival. But if you can fight that off and just know that there's so much out there that you can go and help people benefit from, and as a result of helping people benefit from good deals, you'll benefit too, But if not, like, there's another one, and just know that there's plenty out there. And I think if you approach it that way, and don't have this scarcity mindset, but have this abundant mindset, I think that'll translate into your discussions with people, and they'll feel like you can really focus on their best needs.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great advice. We got to too many people forget that we have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of that client first.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes beyond just saying, am I checking off the boxes from a legal standpoint? But it's like, really, do I understand what it is they need, what they want, and kind of create a path for them? I think that's well said. Thank you guys for joining us. Nate, thanks for spending some time with me. If you guys got any questions for Nate or for me, reach out. We'd love to help. Keep your eye on this guy. He's going to continue to do big things, and I'm excited to see what's in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.